Herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe des Marketing Meets Technology Podcast von Voxo. Mein Name ist Timon Hartung und ich bin der Geschäftsführer von Voxo. Und ich freue mich, euch heute ein absolutes Special präsentieren zu dürfen, nämlich unser SMX Konferenz Special, wo ich wieder mit einem der Speaker sprechen darf. Und dieses Mal ist es kein geringerer als Greg Gifford, eine absolute Legende im Bereich Local Search. Keiner kennt sich besser aus mit Google My Business Profiles als er und keiner weiß besser, wie man damit umgehen muss, um vor allem seine Kunden in die absolute Premium-Position, also Position 1 im Local Search zu bringen. Deswegen haben wir heute auch darüber gesprochen, natürlich, was ist Local Search? Ja, wie unterscheidet sich Local Search von der normalen Suche und wie optimiert man seinen Google My Business Profile so, dass es auch richtig funktioniert? Und wie wichtig sind Ratings? Da gehen wir auch relativ tief drauf ein, wie Ratings entstehen können, welchen Einfluss Ratings haben, wie man mehr Ratings bekommt, wie man weniger Ratings bekommt. Also eine ganz spannende Session darauf und natürlich noch viel mehr Themen. Darauf dürft ihr euch freuen. Wichtig ist, diese ganze Session findet auf Englisch statt, aber keine Sorge, Greg spricht außerordentlich deutlich und hat ein sehr gut nachzuvollziehendes Englisch und deswegen solltet ihr da alle folgen können. Wichtiger Punkt noch für euch, wir sprechen hier natürlich auf Expertenniveau. Das bedeutet, wenn ihr mal bei einem Thema nicht mitkommt, gar kein Problem, seht es als Potenzial und als Opportunity an, dass ihr hier euch Notizen macht, überlegt, wie könnt ihr es für euch einsetzen und dann einfach auch, wie gesagt, bei den Experten nachfragt, beim Greg oder bei mir, dass ihr das mit euch zusammen lösen könnt. Weil nämlich das ist genau das, was die anderen nicht wissen, was euch dann natürlich den Vorsprung verschafft. Deswegen wünsche ich euch jetzt total viel Spaß mit der Special SMX-Folge von uns, von Voxo, dass ihr Einblick in die SMX bekommt, Lust habt, auf die SMX zu gehen. Deswegen freue ich mich, euch dort auch zu sehen. Ich werde dort moderieren und in diesem Sinne viel Spaß. Hey everybody, we're here in a special session, SMX special session in English today because we have Greg here, Greg Gifford, absolute amazing local SEO from the US. So I am doing this whole podcast session, this whole video podcast in English, but I hope you'll all be able to follow and it's going to be amazing stuff because he is an absolute local SEO and PPC expert. He has 18 years of local SEO and SEO knowledge under his belt, and he's absolutely the person known in the US for local SEO. And I don't think anybody's doing any more intense stuff on this. And he's holding a very special session at SMX because he's going further than just optimizing your Google Business Profile. He's going into how you can use UGC content in your Google Business Profile to get past the competition. And I think that's something that's super underutilized, and that's what I want to talk to you about, Greg. And you're also vice president of Search Lab, right? That's
I'm actually the chief operating officer.
Oh, wow.
They probably have my old bio.
Yes,
I've been speaking at SMX Munich for years and years and years, so it's probably my old bio. I haven't even looked to see if they updated it, but yeah, I've been chief operating officer for a bit now.
Very nice, very nice. Well, it's search local SEO is one of the, I would say, the things that is sometimes overlooked when doing SEO. But for local businesses, it's so valuable. And if you look at how many local businesses actually get a lot of traffic over their local SEO or their Google Business Profile and get a lot of business over their Google Business Profile, it's kind of strange that there's not so much action going on. But that's why you're here,
right,
and to tell us about it. Tell me a bit about, like, if you know some statistics, like what's going on with the Google Business Profile and how valuable it actually is.
Yeah, so the crazy thing is, I remember conferences 15, 20 years ago, you'd have a multi-day conference and there'd be one-hour session about local SEO and that was it.
Yeah.
And it's always been really important to businesses, but nobody really knew about it. And finally, everyone's starting to realize, oh, hey, I need this local SEO thing, because what people would do is traditional SEO and then they'd add on their, at the time, Google Places or Google Plus or Google My Business, whatever the name has been throughout the years, now Google Business Profile. And it's really not the right way to approach local SEO because it is a completely separate algorithm. So when you type something in, Google's going to assess your intent. And if Google assesses that you have local intent, even if you didn't explicitly say that you do, it's going to use the local algorithm instead of the traditional. And sure, content still matters, links still matter, but it's a different way of writing content, a different way of optimizing, a different kind of links that you want to get. It's not just having your Google Business Profile, but really optimizing it and using it well. And then customer reviews are also part of that. And that's something that I think a lot of business owners and even marketers miss out on when they don't understand the local algorithm, because most businesses kind of approach reputation management as a separate service, a separate partner, or a separate activity if you're handling it internally. And it should be one cohesive strategy. So that's part of what I'm going to be talking about in my presentation, is understanding this alignment is totally different than how you would typically approach SEO, and how important the review section is to continued success.
That's really interesting. And how many businesses that you work with, if you look at them, or maybe you know a statistic, are actually utilizing the Google Business Profile, and how many are not?
Oh, I don't even know, but Google says something like 40% of every search that's conducted has local intent.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's huge. And really, the easiest way to think of it is any business that does face-to-face business with their clients, whether that's at a physical brick-and-mortar store type location, or whether it's a service-based business like a plumber or an electrician, where you're still dealing with customers face-to-face, but you're at the customer's business or the customer's home, then if either one of those apply to you, then you need to be doing local SEO and not regular SEO. So probably I would say there are more businesses that need it than businesses that don't.
That's crazy. I mean, a lot of businesses are doing SEO, right? But still, not all. That's also, and the industry's been going on for 20 years, right?
Yeah, and you'd think everybody would just understand you got to do it, and it's shocking how many people think all they have to do is throw up a website and they're good.
Yeah, and the customers will come. So you were talking about that the algorithm is totally different. Is the index also totally different? Is it like, does it switch to a different index and a totally different
No,
algorithm?
it's still all Google's main index, because when the Google spiders go out and crawl, they're putting everything into the index. The algorithm that's different is the algorithm going to refer to the index and what matters in the index. And the weights of some of those ranking factors or ranking signals are different. You know, for instance, in traditional SEO in the regular algorithm, your business profile doesn't matter and reviews don't matter. But with the local algorithm, they're part of the mix, which means content is a little bit less stressed. Links are a little bit less stressed, because you have to kind of squeeze those down to fit in the other sections of the pie if you're looking at it in like a pie chart or a percentage. And so, you know, it's the different weight, even though content matters, it maybe is more or less important in certain areas. The other thing that people don't understand is the local algorithm also powers Google Maps. So any searches that happen on Google Maps powered by the local algorithm. The map pack, you know, and a lot of people also mistakenly think that the only thing you worry about, quote unquote, local SEO is map pack search results, and then everything below the map pack is regular SEO. And that's not the case either. All of the blue links below the map pack are also powered by that local algorithm. So it's like almost think of it like if the ranking algorithm is a scoring system, and it refers to various elements and gives them weights and gives you a total number score, and whoever has the highest number ranks number one.
Yeah.
If you want to use that as like an analogy, you have the regular algorithm and the local algorithm that are just slightly different scores, but they all score. There's overlap in what they score, right? They both score content, they both score links. The local algorithm has different weights because it includes additional things.
That's very interesting. So the reviews obviously play a big role, and obviously mentioning the location, I'm pretty sure like some kind of real local location information is relevant. So in Germany we have a very specific law. Actually, we all have to put our contact data in a very specific format into each website. So the company, the address, an email, and the email is horrible, by the way, because that improves spamming a lot. But also a telephone number has to be provided. It's called the impressum, which is basically the imprint, and has to be correct on every website. Yep. So this makes it very easy for Google to understand where the business is located. I'm sure in the US it's a bit different, but it's
pretty similar actually. We don't have the requirement that the information has to be the same everywhere, but Google's algorithm expects that the information is the same everywhere. It's just the difference is you can have one or two sites out there that have an incorrect phone number, and it's not really that big of a deal, other than the fact that if a human potential customer happens to find you on one of those sites and the phone number's wrong, then they're obviously not going to be calling you. Yeah. So it's important for conversion, but it doesn't really matter for ranking.
Interesting. But the imprint and obviously mentioning different locations on the website plays a big role in where the business is placed, right?
Potentially.
Okay.
So the easiest way to think of it is, like you said, Google has all this information on other websites to know exactly where you're located in reality.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got your business profile, and your business profile is like a direct interface into Google's back end to feed Google correct, specific information about your business. So Google knows exactly where you're located. And one of the really powerful signals that matters, especially in Google Maps or in Map Pack search results, is the proximity of the search result to the person doing the search. So, you could do a search and you could drive a mile away and do the same search again and get different search results in the Map Pack if there's enough competition, because your proximity to those results has changed.
That makes a lot of sense.
So a lot of people mistakenly think that they can just list 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 cities on a page, and because the city name is mentioned on the page, they're going to rank in that page or in that city. But it doesn't work that way, because Google knows exactly where you're located. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't create content around nearby towns or cities and show up there, but it means for sure you're not going to show up in the Map Pack unless there's just not a lot of competition. So I have a bi-monthly podcast, and kind of our running joke about that type of situation is that if I was going to go open an underwater basket weaving studio, it would be the only one in the market, so it would have a very wide radius of visibility because there's simply no competition.
Yeah.
But if we're talking, a restaurant or a dry cleaner or something that there's a significant number of competitors, then me trying to rank in another city, I'm not going to show up in the Map Pack. I could potentially show up in the 10 blue links below the Map Pack, but you have to then create a targeted page of content around a singular concept in a singular location. So let's say we're talking a plastic surgeon, right? And so you would have, eyebrow lift, nose job, facelift, all the different potential types of surgeries that you perform. And let's say that they are located right in the heart of Munich. So all of their website is optimized for Munich, but they want to show up in a nearby town that is 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
And there's not as much competition there, so they know that, there's a couple of plastic surgeons in town, but most of those people are going to be looking to Munich because those are the more experienced, bigger medical practices, so they're going to be looking there. So you want to show up for the people that are in those smaller towns. Yeah. You create your normal page about facelift, and that's Facelift Munich, but then you also have a secondary page that's facelift whatever that town is. And that's called a city page. So city pages can be really effective, and you basically start to think, all right, every time I have a concept I want to show up for, I need to double up on that concept and have one for each of the 2 cities. You can also get even more advanced if there's a lot of competition and do something called a local content silo. And it's, instead of creating just one city page, you're creating a whole silo of content. So think of the entire menu structure and submenu structure of the site. All of those pages are then duplicated to create almost like a microsite within your site, where all those pages are optimized around that other town. And then you're also going to do link building, but you're going to get links from that targeted city to those targeted city pages on your site to build that relevance. So it's almost like you're creating a second website, except it's all part of the same site, and you're integrating everything into the same architecture. So it can get pretty complex.
I'm feeling that as well. Can you use the same content or very similar content when you're describing your services, or is it, duplicate content? Is that an issue?
Yeah, duplicate content's an issue. You definitely, what a lot of people do is they'll take their one page and they'll spin up 20 copies of it, and all they do is change out the name of the city.
I've seen that a lot.
That's still duplicate content. Just because the city's unique, you can't say, oh, well, the entire page is unique because the 5 times Munich appeared, I changed it to something else. It doesn't work that way. So, you do have to rewrite the content. It needs to be uniquely written and still helpful. And, a lot of people are taking the shortcut and going, hey, ChatGPT, just rewrite this 5 times. But then, the problems with all of the LLMs. They hallucinate and they don't use grammar the same way that humans use grammar, so you start to have these weird pages. So it really does need to be either human written or at least human edited after you've used some LLM to create those iterations for you.
Yeah, 100%. What about the links? You said you need local links, right? So you need links from that city that will work best, right?
Yep. So, traditional SEO when you talk link building, it's avoid the low quality links, go for high quality links, even though domain authority is a complete BS metric that Moz invented years ago. Everyone's selling links on the authority metric of the website, and you want to avoid the low authority links. But in local, you actually want the low authority links because that local algorithm really values links from other businesses and other websites in the same market that your website is in.
Yeah, makes sense.
Now, if you can get some big authoritative site that is, nationwide or for all of Europe or whatever, great. You can get a link from Huffington Post. You want a link from Huffington Post, but that's not really what you want to concentrate on getting. You really want to concentrate on getting links from local businesses and local websites. One of the best links you can get is from a church website because it is hyper local down to a neighborhood level typically, and it's not easy to get a link from a church website. But if you're doing SEO and you run that church URL through any of your link building tools,
it will be really
it's going to come back with a very low authority score. It may even have a high spam rating because churches don't tend to do SEO, which means churches don't do a lot of link building, which means according to the whole domain authority or whatever authority metric that link tools use, it's a very low authority link and the tool's going to tell you not to get it. So you almost have to unlearn some of the things that you've learned about SEO when you start doing local SEO.
That is super helpful, by the way, because I always think about links also in a different way. A link can be actually low value, but if it's still very fitting in the content and the space the website is in, it's actually pretty sure it has a lot of value for your page.
Yeah, exactly. And, and if you look at the whole topical relevancy thing that we typically look at when we're talking link building, it's still topical relevance. It's not topical about whatever the concept is you're talking about. It's topically relevant because it is locally relevant. Yeah. Same town. So some people will freak out and they're like, why am I getting links from churches and dry cleaners and city websites and all these other things? I just want links that are related to what I'm selling, but it doesn't work that way. It's trying to build that local relevance, have a better pattern in Google's eyes so that you'll show up more often in those searches because Google sees you to be more relevant in the local area.
So I have a really critical question now, because that's interesting. So if local SEO works differently than normal SEO, and you're really optimizing for local SEO, will that have an impact on your normal SEO, and will it impact your normal SEO visibility?
Nope. So they really overlap a lot. It's just the difference is local SEO has the additional stuff in it. Mm-hmm. It's not really going to hurt your standard SEO. And in fact, most of the businesses that need local SEO don't need standard SEO at all anyway. So all that matters is local. Now, the business owner might tell you, oh, yeah, well, I'm in Munich and I can serve customers in Berlin. Okay, sure. You can serve customers on the other side of the country, but that doesn't mean that the intent for looking for whatever it is that you're selling is nationwide. Just because someone can come that far doesn't mean that typically people are going to buy from some business in the same local area. And, people have to remember, Google has a mind-boggling level of data. Like, no one with a human brain can comprehend the amount of data that Google has, both about the factors that influence your visibility in searches, but also about consumer behavior. And Google knows if someone searches for a search phrase, what everyone that's ever searched for that search phrase has done after they've conducted that search. So it starts to figure out really quickly which phrases have local intent and which ones don't. So even if you don't explicitly say, I want a pizza restaurant in Munich, you can just say pizza restaurant near me, in which case you're explicitly saying, I want something physically close to me. So in the map pack, it's going to be the 3 closest pizza restaurants to you, whether they're good or not. Or you can just say pizza restaurant, and you don't have to specify, and it's still going to lock it down to your immediate area. So regardless of what you're looking for, what you think it might potentially work like, if Google has determined from past user behavior that search has local intent, it's just going to use the local algorithm. Yeah,
it's very interesting. It's actually feels like a really different space within SEO.
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah. So getting back to your presentation that you're going to hold in March at the SMX, which is going to be really, really interesting. It's called Using UGC from Your Google Business Profile to Make Your Site Stand Out. Let's talk a little bit about UGC, because UGC I've heard mainly in the context of paid social or social ads, because user-generated content, obviously. But tell me a bit more what you're talking about with user-generated content in the topic of Google Business Profile. I'm always close to saying Google My Business Profile or My Business Profile because they changed the name so many times.
I know, right? And then it's like, it takes you years to get used to whatever the new name is. And once you finally consistently call it the new name, they'll end up changing the name again. And you're just always going to be on your toes. But yeah, basically the reason I said UGC is it's just easier than having this incredibly long title that describes what it is. But basically it's using the elements of your Google Business Profile where you hear from customers or potential customers to guide your content strategy on your website. So it's specifically your reviews on your Google Business Profile and the Q&A section on your Google Business Profile.
Interesting.
And so it's a lot of businesses don't really, they'll pay attention to their reviews, but they're not thinking about how they can use reviews for content strategy. So it's looking at your own website and then looking at the reviews that you have and the trends of the things that are mentioned in the reviews. If people tend to say they're really happy about some element of either what you offer or how you do business, and multiple reviews have said that, then multiple people have felt that pleasure at doing business with you over that one particular concept. You need to make sure it's really clear on your website that you do things that way. And that's not by just posting a review that says, hey, this guy liked the way we treat our customers. It's not even really about displaying the reviews on your website. It's more about incorporating those concepts and those ideas into your website content. Another thing is, you sell certain solutions to people, whether that is a product or a service. What you're really doing is you are selling a solution to a problem that customers have. And when you read the reviews of what happy customers say, that gives you an idea of what those problems were that you were solving. And sometimes they may not be the correct solutions on your website. You're targeting, 2 or 3 concepts, but you might be missing 1 or 2 other really major concepts that if you showed up in search results for those problems, then you're the answer to that and you're going to rank really well. And businesses miss out on that a lot. So I'm going to talk a lot about how to examine both your own reviews and your competitors' reviews. So it's that on the positive side, but it's also the negative review side. If people are consistently upset about, 1 or 2 things, maybe you're not making it clear on your website what the process is with your business. Again, whether it's a product or a service. We work with a lot of car dealers, and people complain that when they show up for an oil change, they have to wait for a long time. And the business will say in the response to the bad review, oh, well, you need to have an appointment. If you didn't have an appointment, you're going to have to wait. But you go look at the website, and the website doesn't say you really need an appointment. The website's all about show up for an oil change. We'll get you in and out in 30 minutes. But then it doesn't say that an appointment is required, or to be a little asterisk, and then in really small print on the bottom of the page, appointment required to be in and out in 30 minutes. So it's not obvious to the general customer, and that's why people complain. So it's a mismatch of client expectation or customer expectation and what happens in reality. So it's then shifting your website to make things more clear to mitigate those miscommunications. So A, it makes your customers happier, and B, it avoids getting more bad reviews in the future. And then also, again, looking at your competitors and what people put in their bad reviews. Because if people consistently say the same things that they're unhappy about with your competitors, then you make sure that you have content on your website that talks about, hey, we don't do business like this. Here's why we're better. And you don't even have to mention the competitor, but people will start to see it. I'm looking at all of these websites for all of these potential places to buy this solution, and this one guy is giving me better and more information about what this entire process is going to be. I'm probably going to call that guy.
That is so incredibly smart. And now with AI, you can actually also really easily analyze huge amounts of data.
Exactly.
It's really, really smart. And to be honest, it has such a huge impact if you do that right. Such a huge impact, because we all run our businesses, right? And we all think we understand the customer, but nobody understands the customer like the customer understands us. and the reviews are a perfect place. But then let me ask the obvious next question. How do I get more reviews if I don't have many? Or how do I get more FAQs if I do not have enough?
So that's the thing. You've got to have a proactive process because it's not human nature to leave a review when you're happy.
Yes.
So one of the kind of anecdotes that I use when I speak at conferences, I love seafood, but I live about 4.5 hours from the coast, so I can't get great seafood in Dallas like you can anywhere on the coast. So anywhere I go that is close to an ocean that has seafood, I'm going to eat seafood, and I like to get fish tacos. If I bite into a fish taco and there's a Band-Aid in the fish taco, I'm probably going to leave a bad review for that restaurant.
Yes.
But if it's the best fish taco I've ever tasted in my life, I'm also probably not going to leave a review.
Yes.
But if you and I were sitting there eating, and let's say we're having dinner when I'm in Munich in a few months, and I love to eat schnitzel. So let's say I'm having some schnitzel, and it's the best schnitzel I've ever had in my life. And I mention to you right when the waiter walks by, bro, this is the best schnitzel I've ever had in my life. I'm going to come back here tomorrow and eat here again. Oh my gosh, it's mind-blowing. And the waiter or waitress hears me say that and turns around and then says, oh, is it really that great? And I say, oh my gosh, it's mind-blowingly amazing. And the waiter or waitress then says, well, you know, it'd be really cool if you'd leave us a review on Google and share that with the rest of the world. Then at that point, I move from not even thinking about leaving a review, even though it's the most amazing thing I've ever tasted, to now feeling obligated to leave a review because it's the most amazing thing I've ever tasted, and they asked me to share that story. So then it becomes this obligation, but not in a bad way, and you're much more likely to get those reviews. And then you want to set up a page on your website. Typically, we like to put it under the About Us submenu, and it's just a page. Menu button says leave us a review, because you don't want to expect that the general public knows where to go to leave reviews. And for every particular vertical, there might be specific review sites that matter. Like TripAdvisor might matter if you're, you know, a restaurant or some sort of tourist location, but it wouldn't matter for a car dealership or a doctor. So then when you have that page on your site, it's really easy to say, you know, go to my website, you know, gregspizza.com/reviews to leave me a review. Or you can have a QR code on your receipts or on the window or whatever it is. It sends everybody that page that has a simple thank you message that says, thanks for doing business with us today. Let us know how we did. Leave a review on one of the following sites. And then you give people options, because maybe somebody really likes to leave TripAdvisor reviews, but if you're only asking for Google reviews, those are the only reviews you're going to get. Yeah. So now it lets people go where they feel most comfortable, which also results in more reviews and a more natural looking review pattern to Google's algorithm.
You know you're dropping absolute gems here, right? That's like, it's like magic. Like,
I'm trying.
No, it's really amazing. We have this discussion a lot with local businesses. We do not have too many local businesses, but we're always telling them, hey, you need to be proactive. You got to find that magic moment where the customer is really happy with your service, and that's when you have to ask. And it's the same for service-based businesses like agencies as well. But exactly in that moment where the client is very happy, that's where you have to ask them to leave you a review.
Exactly.
And the biggest issue we actually faced with the Google reviews is that there's no direct link for the Google review. You cannot directly link. You have to search for the business, and then you can leave a review.
Oh, you actually can get it directly.
Oh, tell me.
There are... I don't know one off the top of my head. I know Whitespark has one, but there are multiple tools that have them. If you're listening or watching and you want to do this, just do a Google search for Google Review Link Generator. It'll basically have you drop in your Google Business Profile or your Google Business Profile ID, and it'll tell you how to get it. You'll click a button, it'll generate a link. And when you click on that link, it goes directly to your Google Business Profile and pops up the little modal window to where it goes directly to where you need to go to leave that review.
I was saying you're dropping gems, but now you just dropped a big one. That's just amazing. No, that's really
no, it's really helpful because you're right. Like the general public doesn't know where to go.
Exactly.
And even if they're smart enough to figure out, I need to go Google the name of the business, they don't even know where to click on the Google Business Profile, because the other part of UGC that I'm talking about is the questions and answers widget that's there in the profile. And we see consistently for every vertical out there a lot of misplaced reviews where people will not know where to go because they don't realize you have to click the review score or the review stars to pull up the review list that then has the button to leave a review. So if you're just looking at the business
Exactly.
profile, they don't know where to click, so they'll just click ask a question and type their review in there, and it goes to the wrong place. So it's so much
100%.
better when you have that link off of that page on your website that just goes directly to the review form, and then people don't have to search for anything.
Exactly. That's it's such a conversion killer. Such a conversion killer on the reviews. So I have two really interesting questions. But the first one is, how many reviews do you actually need to rank well? And is it you only need more good reviews than your competitor? Or is it like...
It's kind of that. Google doesn't really care how many you have.
Okay.
Google really cares more about, do you have more than competitors? And it's not obviously just more, because it's also, you could have 3 times as many reviews as your competitors, but all your reviews are 1-star, 2-star reviews, and your competitors have all 5-star reviews. They're still going to outrank you. So it's having a pretty similar review score and more reviews than competitors, but you don't want to go too far in any direction. So I talk about this sometimes in presentations where, we for one time we were talking to a car dealership in a pretty big metro market, and they had like 6,000 reviews, and they were all legitimate reviews. They did a really good job of doing the things we just talked about, asking and making it easy to leave reviews. The problem was, of the entire metro area, the next closest dealership only had about 2,000 reviews. And then from the third closest down, everyone was in the range of 600 to 800. And this dealership was thinking, wow, we've got more than 6 times the reviews of anybody else in town. Clearly, this is the only place that anyone's going to call. But human nature, you're looking for a car, you're going to see multiple dealerships, and you see everyone in the 600 to 800 range, and this guy's got 6,500 reviews. You don't immediately think, oh, this guy's the best. You immediately think, oh, they must be cheating because they have so many more. Yeah. So that's why you want to tread that kind of narrow balance of staying ahead of your competitors, but you don't want to be too far ahead of your competitors.
That's a huge insight, by the way. That's same on Amazon. You're looking for a USB cable, and one of them has 18,000 reviews, and you're like, what's going on here? And the next one has like 60. And you're like, what's going on here? But yeah, you're absolutely right on that. That's very valuable information, by the way. So about the review score. So is it true that everything below 4.0 is basically 0? And especially in restaurants, I'm asking, because it's something we've been discussing. So we used to do a lot of choosing restaurants on Foursquare many years ago, because actually the users on Foursquare were amazing. They chose restaurants, and you could really, you'd go to the restaurant and it would be amazing.
Now, I was the mayor of so many places on Foursquare. I loved Foursquare.
Yeah, I loved it too. I would go to a new city, I'd go on Foursquare, and because also obviously the group of people using Foursquare was very similar to us, I guess.
Yeah.
They would have the best places, and you'd find like these magic secret spots where you go.
That no one else would ever find. I really miss that.
Exactly. And they just killed themselves, basically, to be honest, by building Swarm or whatever that happened, and then it just disappeared. And I met Crowley once, and he is actually a really smart guy. But they kind of disappeared, which is sad. Now Google has taken over, and when we look at reviews, anything that has below 4 gets disregarded by choosing restaurants. So basically, you can only choose anything between 4.3 and 4.9.
It'll get disregarded as long as there are options above 4.
Yes.
If everyone is in the 3 to 3.6 range, and that's all you have to choose from, then it's not really going to be as much of a factor. But yeah, if you're below 4 and your competitors, if there's any, more than 2 or 3 competitors above 4 and you're below 4, you may as well not exist.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And then, well, there's options obviously to solve this, right? I'm not sure how it's in the US, but in Germany you can just get a lawyer and delete certain reviews on Google.
You can't do that in the US.
You can't do it in the US? Okay, Germany, it's very easy.
You can only get reviews removed if those reviews are against Google's guidelines.
Okay.
So they have to, have hate speech. They have to be very clearly not from someone's experience. It'll happen that a business will do something and they'll make the news. Like years ago, there was the dentist in Detroit that went to Africa on safari and shot the lion that was actually in a nature preserve and shouldn't have been shot, and posed with it and shared it on Facebook. And the whole world was like,
I remember.
You're evil. And he got thousands of bad reviews from people all over the world
Yeah.
once that story went viral. Well, those are not real reviews. Those are people that never even talked to that dental practice, but left a bad review because of what they saw the dentist do on social media or on the news. So those reviews are against guidelines because those people did not have any interaction with the business. They're just leaving bad reviews. So that kind of thing can get removed. But if it's just a bad review that's like, hey, I went to this restaurant and the manager was an asshole and he told us that we're idiots and we're fat and we should leave his restaurant.
Yeah.
Google's not taking that down, and you're not going to be able to get a lawyer to take it down either. And a lot of people, I help on the Google Business Profile community forum, which is basically free Google support because Google doesn't want to hire a bunch of support people, so they have the forum that volunteers go spend time on. And a lot of business owners think that they can get a review removed because they don't have that person in their customer database. Because a lot of businesses will have the customer's name, address, phone number in their CRM, and they'll say, this person's not in my CRM, they're not a customer, this review should be removed because it's not a true representation of an experience with my business. But what people don't realize is someone's Google account doesn't have to be their actual real name.
That's true.
And you also don't have to buy from a business to be allowed to leave a review for that business. Let's say it's a restaurant and it's in downtown Munich and I parked my car there, go in and have dinner. I come out, my car has been towed. And they said that it was towed because it was illegally parked, but it wasn't really illegally parked. It was somebody screwed up or whatever that would be. Yeah. And then I turn around and leave a bad review for that business saying, hey, they towed my car, but that's all I say. The business could say, hey, the guy didn't eat here. He's just saying he towed his car. Well, he wasn't a customer. That's why his car got towed. We can get that review removed. And Google's going to be like, nope, sorry. Because if you did have the guy's car towed, it doesn't matter whether he ate there or not. He interacted with your business in some way and is allowed to leave that review.
That makes sense. I've noticed something and I'd like to get your perspective on that. So there was, I would say it's been going on for a couple of months that a lot of reviews have been removed by Google. Which has been going on for, I would say, reviews that were given by friends, maybe, endorsed reviews. I wouldn't say paid reviews. That would be too much. But, the reviews that were okay and not too crazy or anything, but they were just removed. So we saw a lot of local businesses going from 50 reviews to 25, from 10 to 5, from 60 to 49, something like that. Do you know any specifics to what was going on there?
Could be one of a whole lot of things. Most likely it's Google has kind of turned the dial up on its spam detection algorithm because a lot of people have been faking reviews because reviews are a powerful signal that will help you rank better. So a lot of people will go get fake reviews or they will ask friends and family to leave reviews.
Of course.
And, sometimes people will be stupid enough to go say, I work here, it's a great place, come see me. And you're not allowed to leave a review for the place that you work. Even if you are a customer as well, but if you work there, not allowed to leave a review. Your friends and family are not allowed to leave a review for your business unless they were actual customers. So, if the review says, oh, my son Jimmy works there, you should go see Jimmy. Well, then that's clearly a review that's going to get removed. So Google will pull them. It could also be the spam detection algorithm sees certain phrasing that gets used over and over by the bots that leave fake reviews or by reviews that are written by AI. So it knows, hey, if it says a certain thing, that's probably this one review service and it's going to get removed. It may be a real human review that just was unlucky enough to use that same phrase. It's still going to get pulled. It could also be related to the IP address because if all of your business reviews are coming from the same IP address and that is your business's IP address, then it looks like all those reviews are coming from you. So a lot of businesses are having problems because they ask for the review at the point of sale.
Yeah, and the Wi-Fi.
And if that customer is on your Wi-Fi network on their phone and they leave the review there, then every single review that happens that people leave immediately are going to all come from the same IP address. And I've seen those get filtered out as well.
That makes sense.
But basically it's Google turned the dial up to try to remove all of the fake reviews. And I think it went a little too far and it is detecting false positives on actual reviews that shouldn't be removed for a lot of businesses. So the thing to do if you have reviews that have disappeared, you can go to the Google Business Profile community forum and create a forum thread there saying, hey, I had reviews removed. Now, the only way you're going to get those reviews back is if you know what those reviews were and when they were left. So typically you'll get an email from Google Business Profile that says you got this new review from this person. You want to make sure you're saving all of those emails, because if you just come back and go, well, I was at 65 and today I'm at 49, I need those other 16 reviews back, Google's going to just shrug and say, sorry, we can't do anything for you. But if you go, hey, I was at 65 and now I'm at 49, here are the 16 reviews that I no longer have displayed on my profile, and you can either cut and paste the name and date and review text in, or just, have those emails forwarded over, then you're most likely going to get maybe not all of them back, but a majority of them back.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Very helpful, by the way, because that's something a lot of people have been, seeing and being problematic about it. And my reasoning for it was because AI is taking such a hold over the world right now, and content production is so cheap, that one of the real gold mines that Google has is millions and millions of real reviews from humans. And that's data. I mean, OpenAI can scrape it, but they don't own it. And Google is the one who's owning that data. And it's very valuable because it's the only thing that actually gives value to, or, it's like gives meaning and value and a real, when you look at EAT, experience value towards a business.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're hearing from real world people what their experience was like, instead of just completely relying on how that business talks about itself on its own website property.
And it's so valuable for so many reasons. That's why I think that's something Google is cleaning up, because they know the value of that review stuff.
Yeah.
Really interesting. About the one last question about the reviews. Do you want to have only 5.0 star ratings, or does it make sense to have 4.9, or to have some bad, some good reviews?
You actually do want some bad reviews. Bad reviews make you look more legitimate. Kind of like I was talking about the one guy that had 6 to 10 times more reviews than everybody else in town. People don't trust it. Nobody trusts a perfect 5.0 review. They know that there are just grumpy people out there that are going to leave you bad reviews because they're never happy. And they also know no business is perfect. Everyone's going to make mistakes. And something that I think a lot of business owners miss out on is that the vast majority of the time, the people that leave you a bad review, they're not trying to hurt your business. They're not trying to reduce your visibility. They're not trying to scare other people away. They're trying to let you know that their experience didn't match their expectation.
True.
So a couple of bad reviews, people expect to see that. And in fact, there have been a lot of studies done over the years talking about the kind of ideal range that you should be in. And the ideal range is 4.4 to 4.7. So it's even really, we were talking earlier about the breakpoint being 4. It's even a little bit higher than that. But basically in all of these studies, businesses got the most conversions off of their Google Business Profile if their scores fell in that range. Anything below that range, you got fewer conversions. And anything 4.8, 4.9, or 5.0, you got fewer conversions because people tended not to trust. But again, that's a generality, because if we're talking, schnitzel restaurants in some small town in the middle of nowhere in Bavaria, and there's 4 of them in town and all of them have a 5.0 rating, it's not like people are going to go, I don't trust a 5.0, I'm not going to go eat there. You kind of have to understand it's compared to the competitors in your local area. If there are a lot of competitors and the scores have various ranges, 4.4 to 4.7 is where you want to be. If it's a small town, you got a 5.0, don't go seek out bad reviews just to try to get lowered to 4.7 because you heard me say this on a podcast or saw some research out there. But just understand, as a business owner or even as a marketer, you don't really have to strive for a perfect 5.0 rating. And the other thing that people need to realize about reviews is the more reviews you have, the harder it is to change that review score. If I'm at a 4.2 and I'm trying to get up to a 4.4 and I've got 50 reviews, it doesn't take that many 5-star reviews to go from a 4.2 to a 4.4. But if I've got 2,000 reviews and I'm at a 4.2, it's going to take exponentially more perfect reviews to get me up to the 4.4, because you're looking at that aggregate average across all your reviews.
Yeah, that's brutal, by the way. Yeah, that's really hard. I have one question about Yelp, because Yelp has come across my desk a couple of times with US customers,
Yep.
Is that something you want to talk about as well?
Yeah. No, it's really important in the States because anybody that looks up directions on Apple Maps, the review stars that are displayed on Apple Maps in the US are sourced from Yelp.
Yeah.
And that's mainly because Google and Apple don't play nicely together, and Apple wanted to do something else. Now, Apple is going to try to start doing their own review system. So at some point, Apple Maps will be replaced, or the review stars on Apple Maps will be replaced by Apple reviews. But right now, in the States, actually North America, it is Yelp. In Europe, or anywhere outside of North America, really, it could be Yelp or it could be something else. Actually, Foursquare is one of the sources for review stars. Could be TripAdvisor, could be Booking.com. It could be a lot of other various. There's a handful of 4 or 5 different review sites that matter. But honestly, of all of those, if let's say TripAdvisor is the source of review stars, it's the source of truth. But you have a business that doesn't have any reviews on TripAdvisor and it does have some on Yelp, Yelp will then default and then still show. So
interesting.
Specifically for anyone watching this that is either in the US or has clients in the US, you really have to pay attention to Yelp, because what you don't want is for someone to decide that they want to do business with you, then they look up directions on their iPhone and the review stars show up and you now only have a handful of reviews and you've got a 1.2 score. Those people are probably going to decide they're not going to come see you anymore. So if you're outside of the US, the easy way to do it is pick a generic keyword phrase. So back to the schnitzel restaurant. If we're just going to say restaurant, you wouldn't want to go too specific. So I would just search restaurant in Munich on Apple Maps. And as you do that, and you know what? I'll just do it right now and see what it does. So if I search in Apple Maps, then you see the list of, oh, that's pulling up just Munich. That's not what I looked for.
I'm doing it as well on mine here right now.
So if I search restaurant in Munich, then I see the review stars from TripAdvisor, TripAdvisor. Then I see Open Table for some. Usually, what I've seen in a lot of Europe is typically restaurants are going to be either TripAdvisor or Open Table. There is some kind of key metric in the background that I don't know what it is that will swap it and show Open Table instead. Typically, when I've seen that, it's because a restaurant has just a ridiculous number of Open Table reviews compared to TripAdvisor. Yeah. So it will swap and show that instead. But it's simple. You do that search, we can tell really easily scrolling through that nearly all the reviews are coming from TripAdvisor. That means if you're a restaurant in Germany, you need to concentrate as much on TripAdvisor reviews as you do on Google reviews, because anyone looking up reviews on an iPhone is going to see those TripAdvisor scores and counts instead of your Google reviews and counts.
Wow, that's really crazy. About Yelp, is there a way to improve your Yelp score or remove Yelp reviews because they're different than Google? Are they more negotiable or not?
No, you're not really going to have any luck on Yelp getting rid of them, but there is a cool little trick that I can share. So, you know, on Yelp, you scroll past the reviews, and at the bottom, there's a little link that says, you know, these reviews were not counted by our system, or these reviews were filtered out. And you click on those, and you see all the reviews that aren't counted towards your score or your aggregate rating, and that's because Yelp only counts reviews from what it considers to be regular Yelp users. So, for instance, if someone leaves a Yelp review and they've never used Yelp before, that review is probably getting filtered out, regardless of whether it's a good review or a bad review. So what you can do is go into that list of reviews that have been filtered out, and you should hopefully have that customer's contact information in your database, or you can find it, and you want to reach out to those people that have left you 5-star reviews on Yelp, and you say, hey, look, you know, we really appreciate the amazing review and the time that you took to write that awesome review, but unfortunately Yelp's system doesn't count reviews from people it considers not to be regular Yelp users. So if you could log back into Yelp, just make a couple of friend connections. It's going to give you suggestions of people that you might know based on social media. Just make a couple of friend connections and then leave 2 or 3 other reviews for businesses in the area that you like. And then that will be enough of a signal to Yelp that that person is a Yelp user, and that review gets pulled out of the filter and added back into your profile. So a lot of times when we do this, we see anywhere from a 20 to 30% response rate from all the people that we do outreach to that will actually follow through and do that. And then you're getting new 5-star reviews to show on your Yelp profile without actually having to get new reviews. And so that can help with offsetting some of those bad reviews.
That's perfect. That's really perfect. So, well, we've talked now for some time, and I can really tell you're an absolute expert for a local SEO, but also going further than that, just, understanding how businesses work, how to get leads for businesses. So that's really amazing. Who should come to your session in Munich?
Everybody should come. It's going to be the best talk at the entire conference.
Yes,
come on
exactly. Exactly.
No, I mean, if you can't tell from I'm a little bit obsessed with pop culture. You see movie posters and lightsabers and Disney pins and Legos all over the place. I've got 26 different movies tattooed on my body. So
wow.
A lot of people like to come to my talks because they're entertaining as well as informative, because a lot of times we go see a talk at a conference and it's somebody standing just kind of locked behind the podium and talking kind of quickly, and they might share great information, but it's not that entertaining to watch. And I like to be a little bit more of a show, so it's a lot more entertaining, but still incredibly informative. So there's always a movie theme to my presentations. I don't know. I haven't chosen what my theme will be, but when I did SMX Advanced in Berlin last fall, it was all science fiction movies. So it will be all science fiction movies, all comedy movies, all horror movies, all whatever. And there's bad jokes, and it's just it's a whole fun thing with some bad jokes, which honestly it's kind of interesting when I do these in Germany, because the German sense of humor is a little bit more buttoned up. And so I'll tell jokes that in the US the room will die laughing. And then I did the same joke in Berlin last fall, and it was a couple of giggles, but mostly silence. And I'm like, wow, that joke just didn't hit as well. And then I come off the stage and people are like, that was so hilarious. It was so funny. And I'm like, but nobody was laughing. But it's just, the cultural difference of how people are going to act during a presentation.
Absolutely. And also, some translation gaps, and obviously not everybody knows all the pop culture going on, because mainstream media is getting smaller and smaller through the singular media. But that's really cool. And you have a huge background in filmmaking, right?
Yeah, I was actually a film major when I was back in university. I planned on going and making movies, but then I got out and started working in the industry and realized that really wasn't something I wanted to do with my life. And so then I got out of it pretty quickly. But I am obsessed with movies. I've got over 1,000 movies in my iTunes library. We watch movies almost every week in the theater and all the time at home. And then obviously 26 movies tattooed on my body. It's probably going to be 30 by the time I come to Germany, because I'm getting another tattoo. Well, I'm not another single tattoo, but I'm working on my left leg. I'm getting all horror movie villains on my left leg. And we're doing some kind of between the larger faces. There's some spaces that aren't big enough for a face, so we're doing various elements. So I'm probably going to add anywhere from 3 to 5 movies to the movie count next week.
What are your 3 favorite movies then?
Oh, see, that's really hard to answer, because you can't really compare between genres, because you can't compare horror to sci-fi to comedy to whatever.
Let's do sci-fi then, because I love sci-fi movies, and I'm such a big fan of Interstellar.
The best
I watched
sci-fi movie ever is They Live.
Oh wow, I've never seen that.
It's a John Carpenter movie from 1988, where basically when the guy puts I don't even have anything close to it. It's this guy.
Oh yeah.
And he puts the sunglasses on, and he sees that the aliens have invaded Earth. So whenever he has the sunglasses on, everything's in black and white, and it's basically breaking the alien mind control, and he can see the aliens. And it has the best movie quote ever, which is, "I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum." And it has the best fist fight ever committed to film, because it's very realistic. But that's amazing. I love The Fifth Element. I love Star Wars. I grew up watching Star Wars. I've got Darth Vader's lightsaber tattooed up the back of my arm. I'm also a Trekkie. I mean, there's so many great options out there.
Yeah, absolutely. What about Interstellar?
Interstellar was entertaining, but it is not even in my top 10.
Wow, that's interesting. Because for many people, it's Christopher Nolan movies are really up there.
See, I like his stuff. I love his style, but I wouldn't. I mean, even Inception they're just not enough to be in my top 10. I think there's, and then I'm also stuck on the stuff that I grew up watching. Star Wars, Star Trek. I remember seeing Star Wars, the original Star Wars, in a drive-in movie theater when it came out. I remember standing in line, a massive line for Return of the Jedi. You know, I remember seeing all the Star Trek films. You know, I love Flash Gordon from 1980 and a lot of the really old stuff in the 70s and 80s. But then there's newer stuff that's great too. It's just, I think his stuff's a little bit too nerdy to the point of it's not something like if The Fifth Element is on, I'm going to watch it. And I've seen that movie more than 100 times and it will never get old. Interstellar, okay, it was a great film and I've seen it probably 4 or 5 times, but if Interstellar was on TV right now, I wouldn't go, oh, maybe I should throw that on and watch it on TV while I'm working. Like, it's like, me, you know.
Okay. Yeah, it's a valid point. Very interesting. What do you think about, this is obviously it's a bit off topic, but I just, if you know so much about the industry as well, what do you think about, you know, Disney buying all the franchises and putting their thing on it? What do you think about it?
I don't mind. I've kind of enjoyed some of the Star Wars stuff that they've done. I thought the Acolyte TV show was amazing. I thought Skeleton Crew, even though it was a kid's show, was amazing. I think they kind of stumbled a little bit on the last trilogy of films just because they didn't have a single writer-director across the 3, and they kept kind of changing direction and course-correcting. So, you know, not so great there. I think they did really well with Marvel, but they made the same mistake with Marvel that they made with Star Wars of like, we're going to make it all interconnected and release something every single year. And I think that's just too aggressive and people don't have the appetite for that. And while I'm a giant comic book nerd, I think they went way too deep in the whole multiverse thing. And yes. I think for the general public, it was just too hard to follow. And
yeah, it's brutal.
And, you know, you had stuff like She-Hulk was actually a really good show, but the CGI in it was so bad it kind of made it where it wasn't watchable. And that's just because they had to rush it and they couldn't spend the time or the money to make it look good. So I think them slowing down and only doing 1 or 2 movies or TV shows a year is probably a good call. I'm super excited that they're going to make Daredevil canon and all of that Daredevil stuff is coming back in the new series. So like, I'm excited for that. I don't actually mind it. I think, you know, I was really surprised that they did Deadpool Wolverine the way that they did it because it was a pretty violent thing for a Disney film.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I think they've realized now that that's kind of the direction they should go. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the new DC stuff too, especially you know, the new trailer. Everybody's freaking out because there's so many, you know, B-level and C-level superheroes in it. But I like the fact that DC is going to reboot and they're not going to try to put the Justice League together. They're not going to try to explain the origin of Superman. We drop right in and Superman is already here and everybody already knows about him and you're just dropping in the middle of the story. I kind of like that. Cool. And they had the soft launch of the new DC universe was the show Creature Commandos, which was on Max here in North America. I don't know what it would be on over there, but if anybody watching has not seen Creature Commandos and you're at all a comic book fan, you got to go watch it. It's stellar.
Wow, that's amazing actually, because I think one of the biggest changes that Disney did is they actually created movies because George Lucas, and I really admire him, he created a couple movies and then he just stopped. And he just stopped for like 20 years. I mean, he didn't even put out merchandise. And if you're a fan, you want to have your Star Wars bottle, your Star Wars T-shirt, and Disney has changed that game in an absolute
Star Wars water bottle.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, you know. So and they, you know, George Lucas never capitalized on that properly, and he's the genius behind Star Wars for 100%. But Disney scaled that up. They really scaled it up.
Yeah, for sure.
And they made it really big. So that's interesting. Okay, one last movie question, then we have to finish up and talk about SMX more. But what did you think about the show Heroes, especially the first season?
I love the show Heroes. I actually watched the whole series again last year, just because I hadn't watched it in a bit, and watching it again now, I'm like, man, if this show came out now, it would be a massive television hit. Not that it wasn't a hit when it came out, but if they redid it now, it would be massive. And I've heard rumors they might be doing a kind of a reboot of it, but
they should.
I loved it. I thought it was great.
I think it was one of the best shows when it came out, and just the voice, you have to watch it in English, just the voice of the narrator is just so incredible. Just watching it for that is insane. And then obviously they got hit by writer's strike, which definitely destroyed I don't know, the 3rd season or something like that. But it's one of the best shows I've seen, with the most, you know, possibility. But then I watched the last season, that was kind of like, wow.
So they didn't have it dubbed for you in German?
Oh, they do, but I watch everything in English.
Oh, that's kind of like one of my probably top 4 favorite TV shows ever is a German Netflix show. And when we watched it, I wanted to watch it in German and just read the subtitles because I felt
Which
like
one?
you got more of the performance of the actors
100%.
if you watch it in the language that they're speaking and
100%.
not watch somebody doing it dubbed.
But which Netflix show is that?
I don't know what it's called in German, but on North American Netflix, it's called Dark. It's the one where in the very first episode, they're out in the woods by this cave and there's a weird sound and they run away and all of a sudden the one kid had disappeared because the cave's actually like a portal through time and he got sent back to like 27 years ago. Oh, now I feel like I've got to Google this. Okay, give me a second. Let me Google.
I'll give you a second. I mean, there's this one movie where they go into the cave and then time moves faster. It's called The Wheel of Time.
No, but I've seen that. That movie's cool. I forget what it's called, but I know what you're talking about.
It's very low budget, but it's really, really good, actually. It's called the Wheel of Time or The Journey of Time or something. It's really well done. Everybody should watch that as well. But I'm not sure what's the... I think I've seen it, the one you're talking about. They get sent back in 27 years. That's very interesting. I have to watch that. Sounds very good. Maybe it's called Dunkel in Deutsch.
Okay. No, I was just reading, and it was like, it should be called Dunkel, but they didn't call it that. It's literally called Dark.
Oh, wow. Well, everybody got to watch that as well.
And the coolest thing about it is, it's this portal, I think it's 27 years, but maybe 23 or whatever, but whatever the interval is, you have all of these teenagers and their parents in current time, and then you have 27 years back, the teenagers 27 years back are the parents in current time.
That's so cool.
But the casting was done so well, there's no question who each person is, because by the time it goes back in time, it's so clear that, oh, this is this guy, and this is this guy, and this is that girl, because the casting is just so stellar. And then it eventually goes back 27 years before that, and then it also goes 27 years in the future. So you have all these different timelines of people going around, and it's one of the most amazing shows I've ever seen. Go watch it for sure.
Oh, thank you for that tip. That's amazing. So I've seen Greg is not only an expert in SEO and local SEO, he's an absolute expert in movies. So I would say your SMX session has to be booked. You know, if you're at SMX, go to Greg's session and, you know, not only learn about SEO and local SEO and how to really utilize that UGC content, probably with AI. I'm not going to spoiler anything, but that's going to be really interesting how that process goes. And then obviously, I mean, it's going to be an entertaining show. So that's also, you know, people when they're entertained, they forget less of what they see, so they remember way more. So I'd say that's amazing. And, you know, you're from the US. So how often do we get the chance to see somebody who has the huge US market as their oyster, let me say it like that, to play with and to get all that experience and tell us about in Germany about it? Because there are a lot of the things, you know, we can use to get forward there. So thank you very much. Where can we find you if people want to connect with you? What's the best place?
Yeah, if you want to connect, best place is on LinkedIn. It's just look up Greg Gifford on LinkedIn. I'm probably going to rank number 1. It's dude with glasses and no hair and a beard. Easy to find. That's the best place to find me. I'm on Blue Sky also. I haven't deleted Twitter yet, but I'm not there as much as I used to be. And then you can find me on our website, which is just searchlabdigital.com. I have a weekly video series called Local Search Tuesdays. So it'd be Tuesday evening for everyone in Europe, but every Tuesday morning here in the States. It's typically a short 3 to 5 minute video, but periodically, like this week's is probably 30 minutes long because we had a big conference this last weekend. And so I'm sharing the recording of my presentation from the conference. But if you want to learn more about local SEO, it's that video series that's 5 years of videos at Search Lab of everything about local SEO. And so that's a great thing to follow as well.
Wow, amazing. And you have a bi-weekly podcast, right? Where can we find that?
Yeah, so I am one of the co-hosts of the Local Marketing Institute Questions and Answers live podcast. So it's format just like this. Ben Fisher is another top local SEO expert, and he and I get together twice a month. And the format of the show is all Q&A. It's never really presentations. So the first half of the show is talking about any important local SEO news that's happened in the last 2 weeks. And then we hit either questions that have been pre-submitted to us through the website or questions that we didn't end up getting to from the last week. And then about halfway through the hour, we switch to live questions that people are asking that are there that day. And we do site audits and We have a whole thing basically called Roast My GBP, where you give us a Google Business Profile and we go through and just viciously pick it apart and say all the things that are wrong. And so it's a lot of fun.
And last thing, where do we find those help forms for the Google local help forms from Google?
Yeah, so if you just go do a Google search for Google Business Profile, or you can just put GBP Community Forum.
Yes.
That'll pull up the community forum for Google Business Profile. You can go through and read it. And, it's a great place, even if you don't specifically need help. If you go there periodically, you can just look at all of the issues that are in there, because each one's an individual thread. It's a standard kind of message board format. And if you find something that you're interested in, maybe a business got suspended for a certain reason and you're curious how they get out of that suspension, or you see another business with missing reviews and you have missing reviews and you're curious about that, or whatever it might be, any of those questions, you can click subscribe on the question, and then anytime that question gets an answer, you'll get an email that has the text of that answer. So you can just jump in once a week, find some questions that you're interested in, see what that answer might be, click subscribe, then you're going to get the email sent to you that has the answer. And so it's another great way to really learn what the experts would tell you to do in those certain situations.
Amazing. Thank you so much, and see you at SMX. And it's been such a joy talking to you, to be honest.
Yeah, had a blast.
I love the talk about SEO, but I also enjoyed the movie talk so much. And I'm really excited to hear you speak at SMX and see you personally and get to talk to you some more. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Just a few weeks.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Greg, and see you very soon.
See ya.